Hello dear viewers, welcome back or welcome to my channel where we get to hear exciting tale. Kindly subscribe to my channel. In a small, forgotten village tucked deep within the African savannah, lived a young woman named Amina. At 22, Amina had already faced more hardship than most. Orphaned at a young age, she had been raised by her grandmother in a dilapidated shack, relying on what little they could harvest from the drought-scorched land. Dreams of education and a better life flickered briefly in her childhood, but they were quickly extinguished by the harsh realities of poverty. By the time Amina turned 18, her grandmother had passed away, leaving her utterly alone. With no education, no job, and no one to turn to, survival became a daily struggle. The village itself offered little. Men worked far away in the cities, while the women remained behind, carrying the weight of families on their backs. But for Amina, even this life seemed out of reach. Desperation hung over her like a dark cloud. It was in this hopeless state that Amina met Hassan, a wealthy man who often passed through the village. Hassan was charming and seemed to possess the solution to all her problems. He promised her food, money, and safety if she would agree to a simple deal. She would bear children for him, and in return, he would take care of everything. At first, Amina was horrified by the proposition. The thought of giving up her children was unbearable. But as the days passed, hunger gnawed at her, and the crushing weight of her poverty became too much to bear. Finally, she relented, convincing herself it was for survival, that somehow, the children would have better lives with Hassan than she could ever provide. Her first child was born 9 months later, a boy with her eyes and her quiet strength. For weeks, Amina clung to him, unsure if she could go through with it. But the promise of money to escape her misery and the idea of him living a better life with a wealthy family convinced her to hand him over to Hassan. The night he left, she cried herself to sleep. The first payment came quickly after. With the money, Amina bought herself new clothes, a few luxuries, and food she hadn't tasted in years. She justified her decision. She told herself that the child would be cared for and happy. But the hollowness inside her persisted, gnawing at her soul. As the years passed, Amina had more children for Hassan. The villagers whispered, suspicious of the young woman's newfound wealth and the children who vanished soon after their birth. Rumors swirled around her, but no one dared confront her. Despite the money, Amina felt an emptiness she couldn't shake. Her nights were filled with haunting dreams of her children's faces, their tiny hands reaching out for her. She couldn't escape the feeling that she had sold pieces of herself, that no amount of wealth could replace what she had lost. One day, a stranger came to the village, a woman from the city who worked with an international organization. She had heard about the missing children and had come to investigate. Quiet but determined, the woman slowly began to uncover the truth behind Hassan's operation. He wasn't placing the children in wealthy homes as he had promised. Instead, they were being trafficked, sold into a cruel world where their lives would be forever marred by suffering. When Amina learned the truth, her world shattered. The guilt she had buried deep within her heart now rose to the surface, threatening to consume her. She had believed she was giving her children better lives, but in reality, she had delivered them into a nightmare. The weight of her actions crushed her, and for the first time, she saw herself not as a victim of poverty but as a mother who had failed her children. The woman from the city offered Amina a choice: to cooperate, to help bring down Hassan and his trafficking network, or to face the consequences of her actions. Torn between fear and redemption, Amina knew what she had to do. She couldn't change the past, but she could fight for justice for the children she had lost. In the end, Amina testified against Hassan, helping authorities dismantle the network. Though the village never fully forgave her, and though she would forever carry the scars of her choices, she found a measure of peace in knowing that her story could prevent others from falling into the same trap. Amina would never be rich again, but she had learned the hard way that some things, like a mother's love, could never be sold. This story touches on complex themes of desperation, exploitation, and the human capacity for redemption. It's a reflection of how poverty can drive people to unimaginable actions, and how difficult it is to regain one's humanity after making such choices.